And for today's project, you're only going to need one machine, a 22-pin circular knitting machine. To support my channel, please remember to tag me on your social media posts and share the video link too if you can. Instagram CraftyCaz33 and Facebook Kaz Harris. Join my Facebook group Crafty Kaz Collective. Thank you all so much. Diolch o galon! For this project, you're going to need a 22-pin circular knitting machine, some stuffing, a scissors, a darning needle or tapestry needle, yarn of your choice, and I'm using a double knit white by James C. Brett there for the ears, arms and legs, and a nice yellow Aran for the body. I'm using some black for the details on the face and on the paws. You're also going to need some safety eyes, and these are 12mm oval safety eyes, quite small, or you can embroider them on later if you prefer. A 3.8cm pom-pom maker will also be very handy if you want to add a tail. I'll mention all the row counts as we knit along, but I will put them at the end of the video so you can jot them down in a little notebook for your own personal use. So let's get cranking. Before I start knitting, I like to take a little 1-inch brush that I keep to the side there, and I like to brush off all the debris and fuzz and things that build up on these machines as we knit. So once that's done, we can start. So I've got my lovely yellow colour here. So we're going to cast on, over and under, all the way around the bed of the machine. And I've moved my machine now to the edge of the table, because trying to knit with this not fastened to the table, it doesn't work for me. So 0 your clock. There we go, we're on 0. And for the body, we are going to be knitting 70 rounds. So take the first row rather slowly, because my 22 has got a terrible habit of splitting yarn, so I like to take it slow and no tension as such. I'm just leaving it flow through, alright? And then once 2 rows are done, we are ready to go. So 70 rounds, and I'll see you for cast off. Just doing my last row now, coming up to row 70. Great stuff, that's 70 rows done. Cut a nice long tail, 12 to 18 inches I usually go for. Pop it on a darning needle. Take it out of the yarn feeder. Crank forward a little bit, and then we can start to take those stitches off. I like to do one at a time starting off. And what I find with the Addi 22 is that when the stitch lines up with the screw mark there, it's kind of just right in order to take one off. And then once you've done one, you get a little bit of slack and you can start taking off more than one at a time. And there's our work off the machine, and now we'll move on to knitting up the arms and the legs and the paws and the muzzle and the ears. Yay! Now moving on to the ears and the limbs, we are going to be using a super soft double knit James C. Brett yarn for that. I'm using a DK rather than my usual Aran, because we need to fold the limbs in order to make them small enough, and an Aran yarn is going to be too bulky for that. So cast on as normal, over and under, over and under, over and under, or back and forth, back and forth. Oop, squeaky squeaky. There we go, 0 o'clock. And for the ears, we are going to be knitting 20 rows for each ear, so obviously we need 2 ears. So knit 20 rows twice. And 20, as quick as that, even if I did fast forward to speed it up a little bit. And what we're going to do now is cast off, same as we did for the body, no different. Pop our tail on a darning needle and cast off. And there we go, we're off. So that's 1 year done. Go ahead now and knit another 20 rows for the next year. For the arms you need to knit 20 rows again and knit 2 of those. For the legs you need to knit 15 rows and knit 2 of those. For the feet 20 rows and knit 2 of those. And for the little bunny muzzle we're going to knit just 7 rows. So once we've got all our knitted pieces ready, we are going to start with making up our beautiful little Easter egg bunny. So I've got my body piece here on my egg piece, and I'm stretching it out, the fabulous part where all those stitches come into their own. So we're going to make what is essentially a little beanie. So one end inside the other. If you know how to do this, then you're fine and dandy. Just do what you want to do. So there's the one tail from the one side. I'm going to find the tail from the other side and line them up to make sure that our work isn't twisted at all once we cinch those together. So I'm going to cinch the inner tube and then cinch the outer tube like that. Nice and tight. Nice and tight. I like to check the inside to make sure that that's cinched properly there as well. And then I'm going to cut mine short because I don't need all that length. And just tie a nice couple of tight knots, and that's done. And for me, I'm going to turn mine inside out and just leave those tails inside there. I'm going to work that nice and smooth there like that to even out that bottom edge. So that's the main part of the body almost done. What we're going to do next now is to grab one of the tails that we just snipped off, the longest one. There's always one that's longer than the other. Pop that on your darning needle, and across the top edge there then we're going to run a draw cord. Okay, so I like to go under 2 and over 2 stitches there, so that's under 2, and then there's your other row of 2, so under 2 over 2 all the way around back to the beginning. Great, so we can leave that out of the needle there, put the needle to one side. I've evened up my draw cord there a little bit. So that's fantastic. Now we are going to add the eyes next. Now I've got 2 small pieces of offcuts of felt here in a cream colour, and they're probably about 2 centimetres by 1 centimetre. And I'm going to put a little hole there in the centre, if you can see that, like that. And I like to pop them behind my eyes. Not my personal eyes, my plastic eyes here, to make sure that they don't pop through when we fasten them on at the back. And what we are going to do, we are going to put the eyes 4 centimetres down from the top. So roughly there, okay, that's to the top of the eye. So it doesn't matter where we start off, as long as we line the other one up later. So let's pop that through there like that. Now I'm going to have my eyes facing up like that, but these are ovals, you could have them that way if you want to. That's entirely up to you. Or you could use a different type of eye, or even embroider them on later if you prefer. Right, so they've got a tendency to catch on these little knobbly bits at the back. You can see I push my felt on there like that. I'm going to run it with the eye because it's pointing that way, and then I'm going to secure on the back. Not too hard, not too tightly. There we are, just it pops in like that. Okay, that's great. And the second eye is going to be about 2 centimetres from that one there. So 2 centimetres is approximately there. Not written in stone, it's just a vague recommendation from my prototype one. So then we can look at that and think that's not too bad at all, I'm happy with that. So pop a little bit of a felt backing on there, a little bit of protection, grab the back and pop that into place. Great. So there's our eyes done. And next, all we need to do is to add some stuffing, just double checking that my eyes are fastened on nicely there, and they are. So we've got our lovely white fuzzy stuffing here. Don't forget to fluff it a bit, get a bit of air in there, especially if you've bought the stuff that's shrunk down in the bags. Okay, and what we are headed for now is to make an egg shape. So we want it to be fatter at the bottom and tapering out at the top. Okay, so don't be shy, stuff the bottom of your egg first, keeping those tails out of the way, and make sure it's nice and plump, and push it to the edges outside of your work like that. Make sure you get no air pockets in there. And you're going to do it to your own taste. So my instructions here are a bit of just a guideline really, so do it by eye. I will run the tape measure around it to give you an idea of where I'm going for mine. Just grab a bit more stuffing off the side here. Great. And on my prototype one, I actually used all my offcuts of yarn to be frugal. As you know, I'm very frugal. So there we go, we've got that kind of semblance of a shape. It's more of a peanut at the moment. So push that down the bottom. We are going for that nice oval shape. I like to push it out to the edges and then squish it back in, and hopefully we'll get there with a little bit of fettling and pushing and shaping and the like. So we headed for a fatter bottom, a bit like mine, and a narrower top, but we can shape that after the effect as well, or after the fact rather. And this is the kind of thing we're going for. We're going for that kind of shape, okay? So he's tapering at the top and going down a little bit more round at the bottom, like me. So keep working on yours until you're happy with it. I might have overstuffed this one a tad. Let's take a little bit out of there. So the top isn't going to be quite as heavily stuffed as the bottom part. I'm going to push that down the bottom, and then we'll pull our cord in and see where we are. There we are, we're getting there now. You can see what we're heading for. We're heading for a narrower top and a plumper bottom end there, like that. We're kind of more or less there. I think I'll put that little bit of stuffing back in, and then we can do a little bit more shaping then once we closed off the top end. So once you're happy with your stuffing levels in your egg body, you can pull tight and fasten it closed. And I'm going to put mine one tail back on a darning needle, and I'm going to run mine back around the top edge there like that. I'm going to pick up every other one there like that, and hopefully that'll help me close up this gap and it not undo on me as we kind of tighten things together. There we go, that's great. And that's a tip I picked up from Erin Makes Designs. Go and check out her channel. Always like to credit other creators if I find something that has been very handy. I think that's a polite thing to do. So thank you, Erin, for that lovely tip. It's very, very helpful. So now put your tails on a darning needle and pop those through, because we don't need those at the moment. And we can hide them inside the work and pull them through. Job done. I like to put a little bit of pressure on there and snip it off, and then the tails disappear. Now this is where we can shape our little egg a little bit and make it narrower at the top and plumper at the bottom. There we go, we're getting there now. And when we put the arms and the legs on and the ears, it'll take even more of a shape of its own. So that's kind of where we are going at the moment. That's our egg almost done. So let's move on to making the ears next, and then we'll do the arms and the legs and the feet. So moving on to making the ears, and you would have knitted up 2 lots of 20 rows for the ears, and this is quite easy. All we're going to do is to cinch both ends, and we're going to use our darning needle then to close off with a couple of knots and stitches. So exactly the same as making a beanie, just gather those ends in like that. And mine is caught there for some strange reason. No idea why. Oh, there we go. Great stuff. You've got to watch this yarn. Sometimes it gets very, very brittle, I find, especially with DK. And that was a little bit on the edge for me then. But that's fine for now. So a couple of little knots and stitches to seal that off. Job done. And we're going to do exactly the same the other side. Leave that tail on for a second. Again, gather it all the way in. And a couple of stitches. And then a knot. Great, that's done. Now, in order to do the ear shape at the top, fold it in half like that, and we are going to mattress stitch down about 1 centimetre, okay, from the one end. And try and make sure that you stick to the same line of stitches both sides, because that does make your work much, much neater. And I have to be honest and put my hand on my heart here and say, I'm not always that good at doing that. But I will do my best. So about 1 centimetre, 3 or 4 stitches down, something like that. I catch 2 bars, some people like to catch 1 bar, that's 1 bar on the stitch there, okay? Doesn't matter which is your style, and if you're not very experienced with mattress stitch, there are many videos on YouTube which will help you if my quick little demonstration there isn't clear enough. I'm turning mine inside out in order to add a little knot, so I can hide that knot on the inside. Little knot like that. Job done. I'm going to feed my tail through the layers a little bit and trim that off because we don't need that. And we're going to do exactly the same on the other side. Now you can see then you get that little shape there. Oh, that's the wrong side actually. Let's turn it the right way out. And we get that nice little ear shape then, that little cup shape there like that. And we're going to do more or less the same the other side. Line it up like that. Line up those stitches and those lines of stitches. Couple of little mattress stitches up there like that, 1 centimetre or so, like I've said. And that's more than enough. Pull that tight there. Turning it inside out in order to do a little knot and hide it on the inside. And this one I'm going to leave the tail intact because I'm going to use that to stitch it on to the top of my bunny like that, okay? So do the same now with the other ear, okay? And then we can attach it to the top of our little bunny egg shape. So now that we have our ears complete, we are going to attach them to the top. Pins are fantastic, and these are just ordinary dressmaker's pins, the long type. So that's what we're going to do. I need to move that one down just a tad, there like that. We want to leave about, what have we got in the gap there? Approximately 2 centimetres right at the top of the crown there, where you'll see the gather there. So when you look at it from the front, you can see they're kind of lining up there with the centre of the eyes. Okay, that's what we headed for. And what we are going to do is we're going to flatten that out a little bit. So if you pop your finger in there like that without the pin in there, you'll see what I mean. It'll flatten out a little bit then towards the back there like that. Okay, you can see it flattening out when we, wherever that touches the body, that's where you stitch. That's my general rule of thumb, okay, or rule of finger in that case. So I'm going to pop my tail through to the front there like that, from where we stitched it up before. And I'm going to take that pin out because it's going to get in my way a little bit. So there we are, we're heading for that. So we're going to attach it to the body. I'm going to dig down and grab some stuffing. I've always mattress stitched that way. I don't just rely on the stitches going in through the knitted section. I like to grab some stuffing if I possibly can. There we go. So that's the one stitch in place there like that, and that's what we're headed for. So as you move around, you're going to have to maybe balance it against your body a little bit. So down into the stuffing and up into the fabric of the ear, down into the stuffing and into the fabric of the ear, and do that all the way around back to the beginning, and then secure with a knot, and you can hide your work, hide the tail, sorry, inside your work like that. Okay, so that's what we headed for. I'm not quite sure whether mine is sitting quite straight at the moment. I might have to unpick it and start again, but you get the idea. I will carry on now. So wherever the ear touches the body like that, okay, into the body, grab a bit of stuffing if you can. It helps for a much firmer fixing. And in there like that, down into the body and back up and into the fabric of the ear. All the way around, and pull those stitches tighter as you go around, not too tight to distort the knit of the fabric, alright, but just enough just to put a little bit of tension on those stitches. And as you can see, it's already starting to firm up there. Okay, already starting to get firm in place there like that. I think by the time I finish stitching mine's going to be a little bit closer than 2 centimeters apart, but that's the beauty of handmade. Every one that you make will be ever so slightly different. So this one is probably going to end up a centimeter apart. And that's absolutely fine. Make sure that you're all stitched down all the way around. I'm going to push my needle to the back like that, and I'm going to finish off with a knot at the back out of sight like that. Pull that in, job done, and then pop my needle in there to hide my tail somewhere in the body like that. Snip that off, a bit of pressure and pull that yarn, it disappears inside, no problem. And there's our first ear done on our rabbit. Now you can kink the little ear down like that if you want to. I like one sticking up and one slightly kinked, so I will do the next one now like that. And as you can see, measurements are slightly open to interpretation. This one now is a little closer to the top than my original prototype. There we go, there's the prototype one, about 2 centimeters apart there. Now this one is much closer. And that's what happens when you make one and you make another and another. They all are very slightly different. And this one then I think is going to be made at a cocky angle like that to give it a little bit of character. Okay, but sew it on in exactly the same way as we sewed this one on, and then we'll move on to doing the arms and legs. And once you've finished stitching on the ears, you should have something that looks a little bit like this. I like that ear because I'm going to bend that one down a little bit like that to make it a little bit more quirky. So let's move on to doing the arms and the legs, which are more or less constructed in the same way. So for our arms, we have 2 lots of 20 rows. So each of these are 20 rows each. Okay, so we'll work on one. And then for the other arm, do exactly the same, and for the two legs as well. So stretch out your work as we normally do. Oh, I've got a little hair. It's been caught in there, look. Crikey, never mind, we can bury that now shortly. So gather both ends in exactly as we did for the two bunny ears, no different whatsoever. Put one tail on a darning needle, cinch tightly, add a couple of knots and stitches, a couple of stitches and knots I should say. There we go, that's done. Now we can cut that one short because you don't need it, like that. Keep the long tails though, you never know when you need a little bit of white yarn for stitching something on. And exactly the same the other side. Pull that tight, cinch it tightly there, couple of stitches, and a knot, and we're going to leave this tail intact. Okay, and that's just fallen out of there, no problem. We'll feed that in and then we'll put it back on our needle. So in order to do the arms and the legs, this is what we are going to do. Lay it flat on the table like that, and fold in like that, and fold in like that. So you end up with like something that looks like a hot dog bun, okay? And then what we're going to do is fold it in half again. Alright, like that. As close as you can to folding it in half again. So that's what we end up with, is a hot dog, and then we fold in that hot dog in half again. And what we're going to do is we are going to mattress stitch down the length of it. Simple as that. And we're going to do the same for the other arm and the two legs. Okay, so try and stick to the same line going all the way down your work. If you need to mark a line of stitches like that with some stitch markers or a little offcut of different colour yarn, then you can do that. And mattress stitch all the way down the length, trying to stick to that same line, which I'm trying to do now, and I think I should have used a stitch marker of some description. So I'm going to do my best, and you'll do a much better job than I am doing here, because I'm not wearing my glasses either. So let's stick to this line here, all the way down to the bottom. And then you pull that mattress stitch all the way in, which will secure that, and pull that all the way in, all the way down. And as it starts to curl like that, because it will curl, now that's entirely up to you whether you want to keep that curl, because I do slightly want to keep a little bit of a bean shape on that arm like that, because when we attach it onto the side, then you get a natural little curl like that as it wraps around the body. If you want it straight, then by all means do it straight. So I'm going to leave that little bit of a kink in it like that. Okay, and then I'm going to put a few little stitches in the top like that to secure it in place, and a little knot, and that's our arm done. Flatten the top end like that. There's no need to put any stitches in it. We will do that when we stitch it in place. And that's one arm done. Now when you do the leg, don't gather that in like that. You want to have the leg completely straight. But in all other intents and purposes, the system for doing the leg will be the same. Okay, so do the other arm now, and then we'll have two arms ready to attach. And I will run you through quickly how to do the leg as well, so that you are clear about that. So let's run through the leg. I did say that they are exactly the same in construction, and they are exactly what I just did for the arm, other than when you stitch up, we're not going for a curve in the leg this time. So cinch up both sides, add a couple of stitches and a knot, There we are, exactly the same. So a couple of stitches and a knot. That one's done. We can trim that one off because we can hide that little bit of yarn in the fold as we make our little shape. Same the other side. Couple of stitches, 1, 2, and a knot. Job done. Great. Fold that inside there. We don't need it. This is a much shorter piece, by the way. Okay, it's 15 rows for the leg. We're going to make our little hot dog bun. Okay, fold it in half again and mattress stitch down the length. I like to put a little stitch on the end there, and then find your row either side and stick to it if you can. Highly advise you that you do that to get a nice neat finish, and stitch all the way down. On this one we are not going to be going for the curve, we want a nice straight leg. Okay, so once you've done this one, do exactly the same for the other leg. And as you can see, I'm not doing well on sticking to my line, so don't forget, mark your line with a stitch marker or something that helps you keep that line. I'm doing this ever so quickly now, okay, so don't take my system here as 100% perfect at all. So pull that in, and when it starts to curve, straighten it back out, because we want a straight leg, right? But doing that way makes sure that you've got a nice neat, and everything is pulled in there on that mattress stitch. So a stitch or two on the top to secure, and that's a leg done. And now you can see the difference. That's the little leg and that's the little arm. One's straight and one's curved. So do 2 arms and 2 legs. When you finish that, you'll have your 2 little arms and your 2 little legs. Now we'll put our arms to the side just for a second. We won't need those for a minute, and we're going to concentrate on our legs. So just using the one leg at the moment, we're going to prepare the feet. Now we would have knitted 2 lots of 20 rows again for the feet, and in order to do the feet is slightly different. We're going to make circles this time, okay? So again, we're going to gather one end and gather the other, and the way I like to do it is I like to push one end in through the other end like that, and then I will gather the one end in. So it's nice and tight. And the other one nice and tight, and then tie them together nice and tight. Make sure that you have got a nice sealed up cinch area there like that. Just double checking, these are quite fiddly little pieces. Definitely do not want to play with me today. So again, all we're going to do is to tie a couple of knots, making sure that our cinch area is nice and clean and completely cinched like that. Okay, so 2 knots is usually enough. You can do 3 if you want to, but I'm going to stick to 2. There we go. Great stuff. Now I'm going to trim one short, because I don't need that, and then stretch it all out till you get a nice circle like that. Now the other one, I'm going to trim that as well. So basically trim them both off, okay? Put one onto a darning needle, and we're going to do something similar like we did when we cinched the body together. Now on the outer edge like that, if you flatten that down now, you can see you've got a nice little circle. On the outer edge of the circle, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go under 2, over 2, under 2, over 2, all the way around, adding a drawstring around the outer edge of this circle, and you'll find out why very shortly. So all the way around, back to the beginning, like that. There we are. Okay, so even up that drawstring so it's not going to fall out on you. And you're going to need a little bit of stuffing for this next step. A little bit of stuffing, not too much. We're not overstuffing this at all, so let's pop a little bit in our circle there, like that. Now this is a little bit of a fiddly thing to do, but it'll be well worth it and quite cute when you're done. Okay, so what we're going to do is leave the bit with the tail facing upwards, because we'll use that for stitching it onto our egg shortly, and pop it in there like that, so it looks like a little upturned mushroom. Okay, now push your stuffing down and pull those tails in to cinch around the base of this. Now it's not going to hold it, it will pop out. Okay, so be prepared for it to be a little bit of an annoying little thing and to pop out, but if you cinch it like that it will stay. Alright, so you've got a little upturned mushroom. Now tighten that cord around the base if it'll allow you to do that without falling apart and falling out. Okay, just so that you get the right size of hole around the bottom of the leg. Okay, great stuff, job done. Now pop one of the tails, leave both tails on from the knot, and using one tail, you can see it's just sitting there now in the top of that there, like that. What we're going to do is we're going to stitch around, and we're going to stitch around probably the second stitch up. There's the bottom of the leg and the second one, so we're going to stitch there, we're going to grab that stitch there, and we're going to grab the corresponding stitch at the top of the ball there, like that. Okay, so follow all the way around, digging down. If you can get some stuffing as you go, even better. All the way around, and it doesn't take long to do at all, so stick to the same line all the way around. Okay, and pull that mattress stitch in as you go to bring that leg in nice and tight there, and it'll take up any bag that you've got on the gathering as well. If you feel that you want to go around twice to make it extra secure, then of course you can do that, that's no problem at all. Pull that in there like that, and I'm stitching along the top, along the top of the bottom of my leg there. Back to the beginning. It doesn't take too long at all. Pull that stitch in, and there you can see now that's a nice stitched leg onto the little ball foot. And once you come back around, back in there like that, and you're back to where you started. And then you can knot these two together. A couple of knots, and that again will pull in that stitch line and make it nice and taut. And then you can bury those tails. One's plopped out on me, so I'll tell you what we'll do now is we'll thread them both in at the same time and do a sneaky move and pop that through there and just pull it through the ball of the foot, and we can trim that off. And there we go, there's the ball of the foot done. Now there's the seam, okay, there of my mattress stitch. Now this is the bit where we need to manipulate it a little bit. As you can see now, it's just a ball on the end. It's a mushroom basically. Okay, so with the line of your mattress stitch at the bottom, put that on the bottom of your hand like that, and grab it like that, and you're going to push and push and push and twiggle and wiggle and twiggle and twiggle until you get that shape. Okay, there we go. Now the leg has moved to the back. Alright, and then we've got the little paddy foot with the cinched area now at the front. Okay, and that's our little paddy foot done. And that's the shape that you've got now, as a leg with a little foot on the end. So do exactly the same with the other one, and then we can move on to attaching the arms and the legs onto our little bunny egg. Once complete, you will have your 2 little feet, like little mushrooms there, okay, ready to go, and your 2 curvy little arms. So now we're going to add them on to our little Easter egg bunny. So starting with the left arm, and we left a tail on the top of the arm here, which is very, very handy. And what we are going to do is to place our arm 3 centimeters down, roughly on the left hand side here, and obviously on the right hand side as well, right underneath the ear there. Okay, so there's my 3 centimeter line there. If you want to pop a pin in to help yourself to mark that, then you can. So you can pop a little pin there, okay, and that's what we're headed for. So we're going to pop our little arm round about there, 3 centimeters. Put it higher if you want to, that's entirely your choice. 3 centimeters, 2.5 to 3 centimeters is my kind of go-to. Let's have a look where we are here. That's a little bit low actually, so I'm going to pop mine about there, which is about 3 centimeters. So I'm going to start stitching from the underneath, so that when I come around, that's just popped off. When I come around, then I can tie the knot on the bottom. Okay, so it's a mattress stitch. So with the seam facing the body of your Easter egg bunny, pop it up like that and pop a stitch in. And as I always do, try and grab a little bit of stuffing as you go. It does help with anchoring your work nice and firmly there. So I'm going to fold my little bunny arm up like that. Pop a stitch into the arm, back into the body, grab a little bit of stuffing and pull that mattress stitch as I go. And this is a quick demonstration of mattress stitch. If you're not sure how to do it, there are many videos on YouTube which will help you more in depth than this quick little explanation that I'm doing here. And it's not a true mattress stitch, I suppose, because I am digging into the stuffing, but I do find that it really does help with fixing down the work onto the body of these little knit bunny objects and knitted things. So I'm going across the top of the shoulder a little bit there now. Alright, from the cinched area I'm going down about a stitch, and that'll help pull that shoulder part into the bunny. So I'm not being totally kind of precise with my with my sewing here. I'm not sticking precisely to any kind of pattern really. I'm just going into a stitch, put a stitch down there on the shoulder of that bunny arm, into the body, grabbing some stuffing, back around, and it doesn't take long at all, a couple of minutes to put a few stitches in here, and that arm is more or less secure. Now if you want to go around twice, of course you can. If you want to make doubly sure that everything is fine and dandy and super duper secure, then you can do that. There we go, and we're back where we started from, and I'm more or less happy with that. I'm going to finish off with a little knot, and then I'm going to attach my other arm in exactly the same way, in a mirror image fashion. Pull that in there like that, and a little knot. Finish off, pull that tight, and then I'm going to push my tail in there and pop it through, if it'll allow me to do it. There we go, great stuff. Pop that through there like that, and a bit of pressure and snip it off, and there we go. There's one arm on our bunny, all done. So go ahead now with the other arm and attach it there like that, and then we move on to doing the legs. Once complete, you will have 2 little arms attached to your bunny egg. Now moving on to the legs, and we're going to sit our little bunny up for this one, okay? And what we're going to do is to put our bunny legs like that, sticking out both sides like that. Okay, now the general rule of thumb that I always say when I do that is wherever it touches the body or wherever it touches, that's where you stitch. That's the stitch join. Okay, so now you can see that I'm going to be putting my bunny leg at an angle like that underneath the eye, more or less, sticking out at about a 45 degree. We want this bunny egg to be able to sit down. Okay, so the legs will help to make it nice and stable. Okay, so we're going to have approximately a 2 centimeter gap between the legs there. Okay, so there you go. You can see it's going to be positioned there like that, in a line with the eye more or less, and flattish at the bottom there, so it's not going to be causing a problem when we are sitting down. So the same again, make sure that the seam is lying at the bottom, okay, out of the sight, so that when it's sitting down the seam is facing the bottom on the table like that. Now we're going to pop our tail that we left on the one side there, planning ahead and leaving our tails intact. Okay, so make sure that our foot is all formed and squidgy there like that. We'll be adding some details with that shortly. So pop your little leg in there like that, hold it in place roughly like that, and then we're going to start to stitch into place. Again, digging into that stuffing if you can, and again this isn't going to take long to stitch into place at all. Work your way around like that, going from the body to the leg, the body to the leg, all the way around, digging in for some stuffing and back up. And then when you come to the corner, flop that leg down, and this is where I say where it meets the body is where you stitch. Okay, now I want it to stick out at a right angle like that, so I'm going to be stitching where the leg stitches meet the body in order for it to be like that. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So into the body, and there, if you see there, this is where it's touching the body and the leg are touching there, so that's where I'm going to put my stitch there like that. Okay, and then into the body where those 2 pieces meet. Pull in that mattress stitch as I do into that stuffing, and you'll get a nice firm fixing that way. And it's just a few stitches all the way around. I'm not sticking to two bars of stitches and 2 bars of stitches. I don't know why, I just don't feel the need. I have done it that way. I really haven't seen much of a difference when I'm doing these stuffies myself. But if you are more meticulous than I am, then you do it your way. There we go. We're nearly back where we started from as quickly as that, look. And if you want to go around twice for an extra firm fixing, then by all means do that. There we go. I'm doing this in a bit of a rush, not to keep you too long. You can take a little bit more care than I am right now, of course. And here we are, back at the beginning. So I'm going to put a stitch in there and a knot, and then hide my tails inside there. And that foot is done. Snip that one off, and how quick was that to do? There we go, there's his little leg, okay, and it's sticking out at a 45 degree angle, and as you can see he is sitting upright already before I even fix this one on. So go ahead now and do it mirror image, so everything is symmetrical, so you can see then that it's going to be symmetrical like that once you've stitched that one in place. Okay, so you go ahead now and stitch that one on as we just did the other leg. When you've finished stitching your leggies on and your little armies on, that's what you're gonna have. He's looking so cute already. So now we need to add his little bunny muzzle in the middle, so that's what we're going to do next. So for the muzzle, we have already knitted up 8 rows on our 22 pin circular knitting machine, and we are going to do exactly what we've done already, and we are going to cinch one end and cinch the other end, and we end up with a very, very, very small little tube. Okay, so in exactly the same way, make that little tube. Put your yarn on a darning needle, exactly the same. Cinch that up and put a couple of stitches, and if you can hear a funny honking noise, that's my geese outside the window calling for brown bread. So that's geese for you. So there we go, that's one side. Let's do the other side. Cinch that up. It's very fiddly. These small little pieces are quite fiddly doodly. There we go. So again, a couple of stitches and a knot to secure that. Great stuff. There we are. Now then, we can leave the one tail on, and we're going to snip the other one short. We can hide that as we do our little next stage. So pop that little tail into the center. Doesn't matter about that. And we're going to do what we did with the arms and the legs. We've got a little coffee bean, and we're going to fold it in and fold it in like that. Simple. Okay, so we've got our piece like that. It kind of finds its own way into that shape. It wants to make itself nice and small, and there we go. There's our little coffee bean shape. And what we're going to do is put a little knot in the top instead. I think I'm going to do that. There we are, so I can get it more central that way. And then I'm going to wrap it around the front and pull that in like that till we get a little muzzly shape. There we go. That's kind of what we're headed for. Okay, like a mini bow. Now bring your yarn to the back and put a little holding stitch in there somewhere just to stop that from unraveling like that. Okay, and that is your little muzzle for your bunny. Now if you want to put a tiny little bit of stuffing behind there as you're sewing this onto your bunny, you can do to puff it out a little bit, but it should be okay as it is. So all we need to do now is to attach it to the front of our little bunny, and there you can see this is how it starts to become looking more and more bunny shaped. So what I'm going to do is to get one of my pins here, my long dressmaking pins, and it's going to be smack bang in between the eyes, of course, and I'll pop a pin in there like to hold it in place. You can see what we're headed for there now. That's looking even more like a bunny, of course it is. And we can use the tail that we've got here if it's long enough. If not, cut it short and just get yourself a new length of yarn in order to sew this on. And what we are going to do is to just mattress stitch it. Now as you can see, it is lining up lovely to the edge of the eye there and the edge of the eye there. Okay, so that's what you want. It's central and about a stitch or two down from the eye, but you can do that to suit yourself if you want to move it down or up, but that kind of looks really nice and bunny-ish to me. So we are going to just do exactly what we've done before with the limbs, and just grab some stuffing and get a stitch there like that, and then grab that there like that, and we're going to go around and stitch that in place, making sure that you keep it straight. Of course you don't want an off-center looking muzzle here, so pull that mattress stitch as you go, a stitch into the muzzle and a stitch into the body, checking your lining up as you go all the way around to where you started from. Pull that mattress stitch in, and as you can see, it's starting to bunch up and look really, really cute and bunny-ish. Okay, so keep it central. A pin will help to keep it from moving too much, because when you pull that mattress stitch in, it has got a tendency to contract. So put your stitch further up there so you don't lose that little indent. Yeah, pull that in there like that, making sure it stays nice and straight. And then we have our little bunny muzzle all sewn into place. So next, with a length of black yarn, probably about 12 inches or so of black yarn, we're going to add a little bit of a bunny nose there. Now if you want to use a pink or a brown or something like that, that's fine. I'm sticking with black to match the eyes. Okay, so I'm going to come in from the side there like that, and I'm going to come in approximately there like that, because I want to form a V first, a V down there like that. I'm going to leave a tail on the side there. Okay, so we're going to go down there like that and back up on that side like that. That's the idea. We'll see if that's equal. Make sure it's equal if you can. Let's see how that looks. Sometimes you've got to do it in stages. There we go. I mean, this one then is going to come down like that, which looks like it needs to go over a little bit. So I'm just going to bunch it over to the next stitch over there like that. And back into the center like that. And then back up to the original corner. There we go. You can see what we're getting at here now. And then I'm going to go across like that. I might even this up a little bit. There we go. Sometimes you've got to do it by eye. With such a small piece like this, it can be a little bit on the fiddly side. There you go. So we're going to go down there like that, back up there, go over it a few times to make sure that that looks right. And then under there and coming out right underneath the muzzle there like that. Okay, there we go. There's his little nose done, and we're going to come back up to form that part of the division there, and back through where we came from, exactly the same place we entered with the black to begin with, like that. And that's what we're headed for, is that little division there and that little triangle shaped bunny nose, which in many ways you're going to have to do a little bit by eye, but that's the way I do it. So take your tails, tie them together to secure, and that's done. And then you can take your tails and hide them inside the body of the bunny egg. Exactly the same hole again, bring it out somewhere. Same with the other tail. There we go, same hole. Bring it through anywhere, doesn't matter where. And pull that, and that disappears in there, and with a little bit of a boop, it disappears more or less inside there. There we go. And then pull these off, snip them away, and that's done. And if you just a little bit of black showing like that, just primp your yarn like that, and it'll push that knot further in. So there is our little bunny snout done there like that, ever so cute. And this is my prototype one, so you can see they are very, very similar. So now we need to do the eyebrow details. I might very well do the little bunny teeth again for you, so all that's left is to do the eyebrows, a little bit of white around the eyes if you want to, don't have to, and we'll just put a few little claws in the feet and the little paws there, and we are done. We're going to add the eyebrows next, so I've got another, say, 18-inch length of black yarn on my needle here. So I'm going to come through from the side, doesn't matter where, and kind of work out where you want your little eyebrows to be, like that and like that. Okay, so we're going to go for an equidistant and mirror image look with the eyebrows. So where you put them is up to you really, but leave a tail so you can tie off once you've done them. I'm going to come up at an angle there and zip across, and hopefully there's one little eyebrow. Isn't that cute? And another little eyebrow, so we headed around over there, and let's see how that looks. And then we need to bring our needle back through that same hole again so we can tie off and hide. So let's see how that lines up. Don't forget, you can always mark with pins if you want to put a pin on your start position and your finish positions there like that to help you. I've done it by eye here to speed up the process. That's not too bad. One's a little higher than the other, but you know, perhaps he's frowning or something. So again, tie these off, and that's the eyebrows done. If you want to do the paw detail, you're going to need another little length of black yarn, unless you've got more than you need left on your needle. I have got quite a bit left on my needle, so I can probably at least do one paw with what I've got left on there. And again, push through the original entry point to hide that in there like that, and then you can snip those off to hide those knots. Job done. There we go, hide those, job done. And there's his little eyebrows, all done and dusted. Alter them a little bit if you want to. I have twisted that muzzle a slightly little bit there, but there we are, straightened up more or less. Now then, next we're going to move on to adding some paw details on the paws and the feet. Okay, I've already done the one, so I'll show you how I did this piece. And I've got about 14 inches of black Aran weight yarn on my darning needle here. And what we're heading to do is one like that, one in the middle, and one like that. You can use some pins if you want to help you to find your place. But I'm going to come in from the back and right up through the centre there like that. I'm going to leave a little tail, and I'm going to go back into that hole and back through the same hole. So we're doubling up that yarn there. Leave that tail out and position your little paw mark like that, and then we're going to go through that back hole again, and this time come out at the top in the center. So this is the horizontal, sorry, this is the vertical one. Okay, so we're doubling up now, so we've got 2 strands of yarn on that part there. So straight down underneath and straight through that same hole. We're keeping things nice and simple, and this is the straight one. There you go. So that's that one done, and we're going to go back under there through that same hole again, and this time we're going to come out on that side, and now we're aiming on doing this shape here. Okay, so we're doubling up, so we've got 2 strands of yarn for each of our little paw indents here, angle, straight and angle. We're going to come under there, straight from the back, straight through that same hole at the top. Pull that like that, and then we're going to go back under there like that, and back to where we started from, and we'll try and keep all the black threads and yarn together. And now we're just going to tie a double knot like we normally do to anchor these into place. Nice double knot, not too tight, we don't want to distort these stitches at all. There we are. Now I'm going to bring my needle across to one of the darker marks on the paw there like that, so we can keep all the black yarn together, trying not to allow the black yarn to show through on the white yarn. Okay, so you need to do this now exactly the same on the other paw. Come through there, I really need to wear my glasses, guys, I really do. There we are, gotcha. So that one's already through there. Pull that through. There we go, great. And then we can trim that really short. We don't want to pull it too tight at this point because we'll end up distorting things. And then we can just squidgy and that'll disappear in there. And there we have our little paw detail, which is an optional extra. You don't need to do the paws. If you don't want to, you can leave them plain, but they do add a nice little bit of detail, and you can cover his little eyes like that. Whee! Whee! Okay, yeah, crazy moment there, Kaz. Right, let's move on and do the same now to the little bottom tuddy paws. And we got a little bit of, tiny little bit of extras to do if you want to do them. Not necessary at all in order to get a lovely little Easter egg bunny. So I've got another length of black yarn on my needle here, probably about 18 inches or so now. And remember now to flatten out your foot, because we want the foot to look like that, okay? It's going to be running flat at the back of our little leg there, and then we've got a nice little foot. And basically it's the same as we did for each of the top paws. Okay, so we got our little thing straight there, and we're going to go for an angle, a straight one, and an angle. And how high you come up is up to you, I guess. I dare say I'm going to be coming up, let's get the little ruler on there, maybe 2 centimeters, 1.5 to 2 centimeters, but that's going to be up to you. So I'll show you how to do this one. So we're going to come from the underneath. Let's get an angle I can work at here. So we're coming from the underneath, we've got to start with this one, okay? So I'm going to come up to about there. So straight from the underneath, straight through. There we go, that's our angle. Leave a tail, about a 3 or 4 inch tail on there, through that back hole again, through the front hole, like that. And pull that, and then back through it again. And this time we're going to come up at the front, okay, to do the straight one. So pull that, so you've got double there. So straight down now, through the bottom, and straight through the top again. And then again, straight through the bottom, and out at the side to do the other angled one. There you are, so line those up like that, give a little bit of tension on it. And now we're going to do this one. Now I could have come a little bit over, so I'm going to scoot across just 1 stitch there. It's a little bit too far over for my taste, and that's how easy it is to correct that. So in through the underneath, up through the top, push that through there, and let's create that nice little angle there. We're going for mirror image both sides there, okay? So now I'm going to go back in there and straight through underneath to where we started from, and there's our little tutty paws done, okay? So exactly as we did with the front paws, tie 2 knots like that. Great. And then I'm going to feed my yarn through and bring it out in the center part there, so that the black yarn is with the black yarn. And all you need to do now is to do exactly the same with the other paw. We've got a tiny little bit of white to add around the eye, and I'm going to have another go at doing the teeth, because I wasn't quite happy with how that turned out in the first place. There we go, great. So trim those short, practically down to the ground zero. Put those out of the way, and there we have one little tutty paw done. Isn't that cute? So you can see now it does add quite a little bit of detail to our little Easter egg bunny. Alright, so I'll crack on now off camera and do the other one. You see now when he's sitting, you've got that little detail there, and it's very, very pretty. So I'll be back once I've done this one, and we'll move on to doing the little detail around the eyes if you want to add that. And we'll move on and do the little teeth there again, because I kind of unpicked it. I wasn't quite happy with it. So we'll do the teeth now at a separate stage. So I have got on my needle an offcut from previous in order to add this little eye detail, and I'm going to come in from just above the arm there and towards the top of the eye. Now I've used a little bit of felt, if you remember, so that's needs to be wiggled around. Okay, so I'm leaving a little bit of a tail there, okay, at the top of the arm. Now I'm going to come down there like that to the bottom of the eye, and I'm going to come up at the side of the eye, just under the surface of the yarn there. So bring that through, and what you'll find then is that you have a loop there like that. Okay, now to anchor the loop, feed the yarn through there like that and back into the side of the eye and come back out where you started from, and that will anchor that little piece there. You can see that little loop anchoring that in there like that, and what you'll end up with is a little white curve. Now that's completely optional, you don't have to do that if you don't want to, but it does add a little bit of detail onto the eye. And as we've done with all our little project additions here, a double knot and hide the tails, and this time we'll hide them inside the body. And you need to do the other eye now if you've opted to do this. Pop that through there and through there like that, and that pulls that knot neatly inside the stuffing and hides it, and then we can trim the tails off and call that job done. There we go. So snip those off. I like to put a little bit of pressure on them and then snippety snip, and then they, for the most part anyway, go inside, and you can wriggle it a little bit to make it disappear. So there you go, there's the difference with the little bit of eye detail and without. So adding that or leaving it off will be entirely up to you. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead now and do the other eye, and then we'll finish off with a little bit of toothy detail, and we will add also a little pom-pom tail on the bottom end of him there. And again, only if you want to. So I finished my little eye details there, my little white bits. Okay, now I'm going to go back in and redo my teeth. Okay, so if you didn't do the teeth the first time round, I'm going to be doing it this time. And I've got 2 strands of white yarn on my darning needle here. I'm going to cut them both to the same length because I'm using the offcuts, and I'm going to come in again from the side here somewhere, right or left, straight under the muzzle part there, okay, like that, leaving a tail again, and then I'm going to run 2 strands down like that, only like half a centimetre or something like that, nothing much at all really. Pop him down on the table so I can get some of an angle right underneath there like that, and then check to see if you're happy with the way your little teeth look, and if you are, that's fine. I'm kind of happy with that. I'm going to go back down again so I can come back over here and finish off with a knot as we've already done before. There we go, and hopefully you will have a decent pair of bunny gnashers at that point, and that's okay, isn't it? That'll do for now. I'm sure you'll do a stupendous job compared to mine there, and you can separate those strands out like that and make it look like 2 little teeth sticking out. So again, let's tie these off and hide them in the body, and then we're going to move on to making a pom-pom tail. So get your pom-pom maker ready and your matching yarn, and we shall get winding and making a little pom-pom tail for our bunny. And that is it then. That is the project complete and done, and I hope you like it. It's nice, I think, to have a project that you can do on one size of machine, especially when you're new to circle and knitting. You're not quite sure if you're going to get on with it or not, or whether it's going to be your thing. So I think if you can make something that makes you your heart's sore and you feel happy with your work, then you'll want to do more. And I hope you do. So let's snip those off. And I need a better scissors. This one is coming to the end of its life. There we go. Now I twisted my snozzle a little bit there, my muzzle, when I stitched it on. So take a little bit more care than I had time to do here. It's always a little more difficult to try and film and stitch at the same time. But we do our best. As creators, do our best, don't we? So there we go. Right, so get your little pom-pom maker out. I'm using this little set here, and it's the smallest one, which I believe is a 3.8 centimeter pom-pom, and that kind of works out at the exact size that we need for a little fuzzy pom-pom tail for our bunny. But you can use a little fabric one, a little faux fabric one if you want to. So let's get our matching yarn, and I'm sure you know how to make a pom-pom, but with these you just wind out the sides and wind them up. Now what I'm going to do is to wind mine very, very tightly, because what I want is a very nice dense bunny tail. Okay, so I'm not going to wind it loosely to start with, yes of course, because I got to get an anchor, but then I'm winding quite tightly, see? So it's going to take quite a few rounds in order to get this fully covered. Like I said, I'm putting quite a bit of tension on this yarn as I'm winding. I want a nice dense bunny rabbit tail. And work your way all the way back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Trying not to get it over the edges like that. It's not always that easy to avoid. So repeat that now for both sides. That's it. Now I'm going to get myself a nice long length, and I'm going to double it up. So now that that's done, we can snip up the middle there like that. And I'm using the same yarn as I used for the arms, legs and ears. So I'm prepared, ready to tie my work off. You can even sit by the TV of an evening and make a few in advance and have them in a little bag ready to go if you want to make a few of these for Easter markets or something, or Easter gifts. And then once we've done that, we can take our little pom-pom maker apart. That's a nice little pom-pom. It just needs a little light trim up now. There we are. You can even trim it when it's on your little bunny bum after the fact, so I won't spend too much time trimming now. But straight out of the machine, that's not a bad little result for a pom-pom little bunny bum. Okay, so what we're going to do next is to take two of these strands. I've lost one somewhere. I don't know what's happened there. Let's not worry about that. I'm going to put one length on my darning needle here. Right, and let's move on to doing our little bunny bum. Now find your centre, place your bunny sitting down, so you know then roughly that his little bunny bum is around about there. Find the centre in his ear, in between his ears there, and I'm going to go across like that in the centre there. Okay, there we go. Pull that through. Great stuff. And there we have more or less a centered little bunny tail. And I'm going to tie that off now. That's all it is. To attach it, you can sew it on if you want to sew it. Of course you can put a few more stitches in than I'm doing here, but for me that's going to be absolutely fine. And then all we need to do is to bury our tails. I'm going to snip that off a little shorter. Don't need all of that. Hopefully I can get 3 strands in here at the same time. Yes, how good is that? And then I'm going to push that through there like that. Bring those tails through. And then we can trim those off, she said, hopefully. There they are. Little monkeys they are today. Snip off. And that's our little tail done on our little bunny. Isn't that ever so cute? Let's move all my clippings and everything out of the way. And there's our little Easter egg bunny with his little bunny pom-pom tail all complete. I hope you like this project. I think it's a cutie little project for a 22 pin machine, and if you do make it, don't forget to tag me on Instagram, CraftyCaz33. okay, find me and post any of the makes that you make yourself following any of my patterns. I'd love to see them, always do. Join the Crafty Kaz collective on Facebook, and you can share your work and chat to other members of the group as well. And if you do enjoy this project and you make and sell, don't forget, if you'd like to give a little donation to a no-kill animal rescue near you, that would be very, very much appreciated, or any other charity that is very close to your heart, of course. And don't forget to mix up those colours. My prototype was in a lovely rose pink colour, and if you want to add some of the cutie little whiskers there, not necessary again, but you can. I've got an offcut of my yarn from previous, and I'm just going to catch one of the little stitches on the side there. Leave a little tail, you can trim it to length afterwards. Bring that through there and add a little knot to secure that in place. Pop it down on the table there and just pull that tight like that. Then I'm going to pop across to the opposite side and do the same over there. Now if you're going to do that, you can leave a loop like that, okay? And then we're going to do another little knot this side, and hopefully that will secure that in place. And then we're going to zip across to the other side again, and leaving that as a loop and another little knot. These tiny little knots are very small, so that'll anchor that one in place there like that. And then I'm going to zip across once more so I can leave another little tail on the opposite side like that. Okay, so that's anchored there, and I'm going to trim that off. Trim my whiskers to a couple of centimeters, I guess. You can trim them to whatever length you want. And then all you have to do is to just unfurl each of the little threads like that into their little components, and then you end up with fuzzy little whiskers like that. So do that for each one, and that's how you get your whiskers. Okay, but again, that's an optional little extra. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. Okay, so thanks for watching. It's been fabulous to have you with me again, and I'll see you very, very soon. Bye for now.